What we're trying to do is find a way to use new inventive nanotechnologies to develop new antimicrobials that are able to treat these antibiotic-resistant infections. We've had large successes translating some nanomaterials and being able to deliver them more actively to the site of a wound to eradicate the infection before it even takes off and becomes a biofilm. Hi, I'm Associate Professor Aaron Elbourne. I work within the Applied Chemistry and Environmental Department at RMIT University, and I currently research in the area of antimicrobial technologies as well as drug delivery platforms. I've had a varied career to date. I started as a chemical engineer, didn't love that, went back and became a high school science teacher, and again, didn't really love that, and then went back and did my honours in chemistry. One of the large turning points of my career was actually one of my supervisors, Professor Erica Wanless from the University of Newcastle. She instilled in me the advice that you can actually make real-world change via the research that we do. I then got a postdoctoral fellowship at RMIT, working with the dean at the time, Professor Russell Crawford, who also instilled in me that we could translate our research to actually make change. Having mentors in my life that developed me has been one of the biggest turning points, and then obviously getting my own independent funding, which has allowed me to build my own team, hire my own postdocs, train the next generation of students, and start to actually engage with industry to see what they need versus what we want to do as researchers. Getting that feedback loop has been invaluable in starting to actually translate some of our technologies. I work largely in the area of antimicrobial resistance and strategies to curb the burden of antimicrobial resistance itself. That is treating bacteria and fungi that are becoming resistant to the antibiotics we currently use. I also work in the area of drug delivery, again with a large focus on antimicrobials, trying to use soft matter science to be able to deliver new drugs that have previously been undeliverable. Antimicrobial resistance has been termed the silent pandemic. We've just been through COVID-19. Everyone's well aware that that pandemic was not a fun time for anybody. And the stats that are starting to come out is that the resistance to our common antibiotics that treat infections, cuts, problems like this are starting to wear out. We're not able to use them anymore. There are now pathogens within our environment and within our population that are resistant to all known antibiotics. If you get one of these infections, unfortunately, the only treatment that you have is to see if your natural pathways will clean out the infection and you survive, or we need to move to surgeries and try and cut tissue out. What we're trying to do is find a way to use new inventive nanotechnologies to develop new antimicrobials that are able to treat these antibiotic-resistant infections. We've had large successes translating some nanomaterials and being able to deliver them more actively to the site of a wound to eradicate the infection before it even takes off and becomes a biofilm. I've been very fortunate in that I have continuous funding from the Australian Research Council as well as the NHMRC, which is an Australian funding body, which have both funded my avenues into delivering nanomaterials to the site of an infection, as well as creating new gels that are able to treat burns, lesions, scratches and wounds at the site of infection, working both as a prophylactic that can stop the infection from ever starting, or one that can start to actively treat once the infection has taken hold of some tissue. We've also had large successes in this area, being able to work in healing factors that not only treat the wound, eradicate the bacteria or the fungi that are in that wound, but allow your natural tissue to reform itself and scaffold back over the wounded area, improving the efficacy of the treatment, alleviating burden from patients, and also hopefully being able to help healthcare professionals treat more effectively, limiting the burden on the economy, freeing up hospital beds, things like this. The first passion, and it sounds a little bit sappy, is the students. I come in, I have a team of about 20 students, and they're all extremely passionate about their PhDs, their research project, and how they are going to make a difference. I have students working from the interface of fundamental technologies, and then driving that all the way through innovation and actually getting prototypes out and speaking with industry partners. That's been my main passion to start with. I started as a high school teacher, enjoyed teaching, and I like seeing that translational knowledge that I can pass on to the next generation of students. And then it moves on to actually making a difference. My very big drive there is to be able to take what I've done in the laboratory, move it past the simple process of publishing a paper and forgetting about it, and actually engage with industry that's working in the antimicrobial space or the wound healing space, see what they need and see what we can do better than's already there. Hopefully we can save lives, limit patients' hurt, or limit patients' pain, and do good things in society. It's very nerdy, but I'm now very much into Warhammer 40k, painting miniatures, doing some arty things that aren't just science. I'm also heavily involved in the Melbourne comedy scene, not only just going to shows, but dipping my toes into that field. I also go to a lot of theatre, musical concerts, things like this, and then travelling the world and hitting the slope snowboarding.